We often look at the map of Africa as a collection of borders and countries drawn by colonial pens. But if you strip away the politics, you find a pulse. Deep beneath the soil of the Great Rift Valley, the earth is vibrating. We are not just living on a continent, we are living inside a colossal, biological battery. Isaiah Shembe understood this, not through academic study, but through the voice that guided his journey. He didn't view land as real estate, he viewed it as a charging station. When he moved his followers, he wasn't just finding a place to pray. He was being instructed to plug his nation into the most stable geomagnetic vein on the planet. But to understand why this restoration matters for the entirety of the African motherland, we must understand the Zulu story not merely as a history of war, but as a case study for global realignment. The Zulu nation did not just defend a border, they delivered the Great Interruption. They shattered the illusion of an invincible empire. At Isandlwana, the positive pole of Western industrial expansion hit a wall of Southern frequency, so grounding that the world's most powerful army was left in total darkness. The impact was not merely local, it was dynastic. In the tall grass of this land, the Zulu terminated the Napoleonic bloodline, ending the last hope of a French empire. They proved that the South was not a vacuum to be filled, but a force that could settle the fate of Europe's greatest houses. Because this was the site of the most intense resistance. It became the broken heart of the continent, the exact point where the connection to the land was most violently severed. Spiritually mending this broken heart was not just a local act, it was the vital surgery required to heal the whole body of Africa. To fix the circuit, the prophet had to return to the source of the break. Welcome to the 31st Meridian. Consider the geometry of our history. At the northern tip sits the Great Pyramid of Giza. We are taught to see this as a monument of fire, but look at the landscape. Giza is the child of the Nile. Its entire civilization was a rhythmic dance with the inundation, the cyclic rising and falling of water. In the north, water is the regulator, the cooling agent that allows the Giza antenna to project information into the atmosphere. Now, move down to the southern tip, towards the coordinates for Ekopakimini and the Holy Mountain. Here, the story flips. We find the fire not just in the heat of the sun, but in the river of gold. The Vredefort and the deep tectonic veins in the south are where the Earth's molten, pressurized wealth resides. This is the fire that has attracted the world for centuries. This wasn't just a geographical observation. It was a royal decree written into the very regalia of the pharaohs. They wore the double crown to signify the union of the two poles. The red crown of the North Deshret symbolized the external, material expansion, the blood of the manifested world. But the white crown of the South Hedjet symbolized the internal, refined purity of the source. Isaiah Shembe understood that this crown was not a mere artifact, but a biological frequency. By leading thousands of followers in their radiant white robes to the holy mountain every January, he was performing a continental coronation. In that sea of white linen ascending the heights, Shembe was literally crowning the mountain in white, restoring the white crown of the South to its rightful geomagnetic throne. This is the restoration of the mirror circuit. As we established, Shembe's holy mountain sits at 29 South, creating a perfect, symmetrical opposition to the Great Pyramids at 29 North, balanced precisely across the equator. These two holy sites function as the twin terminals of a planetary battery. The logic is undeniable. In any electrical system, current must flow from the generator to the antenna. The South is the generator converting molten pressure and white generative fire into fluid motion. The North is the output, converting that motion into atmospheric resonance. True sovereignty only exists when the red output of the North is perfectly synced with the white generative fire of the South. Shembe didn't need a map to find the 29th parallel. He simply followed the pulse of the Great Circuit. But the grid is more complex than a single line. It is a living, multi-dimensional circuit. If the 31st Meridian is the spine, then we must look at what we call the navel. 2 billion years ago, a massive celestial messenger struck the center of South Africa, creating the Vredefort dome. This wasn't just an impact, it was a cosmic surgical strike. The force was so powerful, it actually overturned the rock layers of the Witwatersrand, bringing the golden thread to the surface. Without that naval impact, the gold, the most conductive metal on Earth, would have remained buried too deep. This site acts as a lateral power valve, a magnetic resonance chamber that feeds the gold circuit. It proves the South was prepared as a high-conductivity laboratory eons ago. The grid is a system of spines, navels, and conductive veins. This isn't religion, it is geospatial engineering. Science confirms a phenomenon known as the African magnetic anomaly, centered directly beneath southern Africa. Here, the Earth's magnetic shield is at its weakest point, creating a literal thinning of the veil. This anomaly is so potent that satellites often glitch or shut down when they fly over this region because the solar radiation is so high. This suggests that southern Africa is a unique cosmic portal, a place where celestial energy has a more direct, less filtered path to the surface. This is the laboratory of the gods. Shembe's farmsteads weren't random. He meticulously placed them within a specific 4-degree corridor of the 31st Meridian. In fact, the whole of KwaZulu-Natal sits on this 4-degree corridor. He was building a human grid to mirror the god grid. Every homestead was a relay station. He knew that the colonial machine could only control people who were unplugged. By grounding his people in this magnetic vein, he made them energetically invisible to the industrial pharaoh of his time. Think of the human body. Your energy moves through your plexuses: solar, sacral, cardiac. Shembe's farmsteads functioned the exact same way. He created a network of human capacitors, places where his followers could stay self-sufficient and untouched. He was building a nation that was energetically grounded. This is why the pilgrimage to the sacred mountain occurs in January. Under the sign of Capricorn, the Earth reaches its perihelion, its closest point to the sun. Shembe was conducting a masterclass in solar induction. By leading the faithful to the summit, he positioned their physical bodies as conductors between the terrestrial fire of the south, the gold-infused crust, and the celestial fire of the Capricorn sun. This precise alignment cooks the sacred oil within the spinal column, transforming the human body into a biological capacitor. While the world celebrated a mere calendar date, the Nazarites were performing a biological system sync. They were harvesting the peak frequencies of the 31st Meridian to ignite the 12-room mansion of the brain, the 12 cranial nerves that, when activated, restore man's divine nature. The Earth mirrors your biology. If the 31st Meridian is the spine of Gaia, then your body is the microcircuit. But a circuit only functions when it follows the law of its design. If you are unplugged from your internal mansion, if your frequency is jammed by the distractions of a foreign system, you cannot receive the inheritance this land is broadcasting. We have mapped the macrocosm, from the Giza antenna to the 29th parallel symmetry. But the question remains, how did we lose access to this power? We've seen the grid. Now, we must understand the corruption of the code. Like, share, and subscribe. Prepare for the throne of the sun. The reclamation of the South has begun. I am the biological altar.